I hereby call this last meeting of the second session of the 117th Student Government Senate to order. We will start with a roll call. When I say your name, please say here or present. Senator Agba? Senator Becker? Here. Senator Burks? Here. Senator Cecil? Here. Senator Dre? Here. Senator Eisma? Here. Senator Anglican? Here. Senator Etten? Here. Senator Frencher? Here. Senator Gopa? Here. Senator Hackbarth? Here. Senator Heidenreich? Here. Senator Holliday? Here. Senator Kamstra? Here. Senator Kohlhaas? Here. Senator Kuehler? Here. Acting by Speaker Kuehler. Speaker Mahoney? Here. Senator Margret? Here. Senator Matthews? Here. Senator Mays? Here. Senator Maskar? Here. Senator Momini? Senator Patel? Senator Schnepp? Senator Shivraj? Here. Senator Slade? Here. Senator Slater? Here. Senator Tansey? Here. Senator Thornton? Senator Topete? Here. Senator Vo? Here. And Senator Yonting. All right. With that, we have quorum. We'll now move into the Pledge of Allegiance as led by Speaker Mahoney.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will now move into our first program of the night, the State of the Student Body Address with President Ludwig. As a reminder, could all senators please lower their lids of their laptops for programs in open forum?
I'll try not to bore you too much, though I may succeed anyways. Thank you. Thank you to Speaker Mahoney and Acting Chair Bruick for setting aside time for this address. With the semester drawing to a close, I figured that now is an ideal time to reflect on our campus, where we're at, where we're going, and how we can work together to deliver for students. Back in April, at the beginning of our terms, I said that Iowa State is at a pivotal moment in our university's history, with the landscape, direction, and makeup of our community in flux as we face new challenges and circumstances. We've seen this in big and small ways. One of the big ways is the faces that we see on campus. This fall, Iowa State welcomed 8,492 new students to campus, including 5,700 first-year students. We have students from every county in Iowa, every state in the union, and 114 countries around the globe, with roughly 1 in 5 of the first-year class identifying as multicultural. This is the most diverse class in Iowa State's history. We've also seen our university go in new directions. This fall, the university announced its plans for SciTown, the first of its kind business district at any major university. This innovative solution will give the university necessary revenues to support critical investments in the Iowa State Center, giving the arts a much-needed boost on our campus. And we've also seen the university come to terms with huge challenges in our community. This semester, we launched a new free telecounseling service for all students. The Department of Public Safety will soon be rolling out the new Iowa State Safe app. And this October, roughly 11,000 people took part in bystander intervention training as a part of Green Dot Action Month. Suffice to say, really big things are happening on our campus, and there's a lot to be excited about. There's also a lot of big things happening here in student government, and a lot of things I think we should celebrate. In the realm of sustainability, early on, we doubled the Green Initiatives Fund, providing Director of Sustainability Vanderkamp and his team much needed money for the numerous projects on their docket, with ongoing conversations about expanding composting, adding more solar trash compactors, and making investments in other key areas in the sustainability realm. I am confident that we will spend every last dollar of that account. And at the same time, over at SciRide, Senator Schnepf and myself have continued to support the expansion of SciRide's electric bus fleet, with the first electric buses expected to arrive hopefully in the spring, depending on production. But in the area of health and wellness, we've also had a bunch of other amazing advancements. We've put money behind Director of Health and Wellness Everest's Menstrual Equity Project, ensuring that the MU will be a place where any student who menstruates can get the resources they need regardless of their gender identity. And Director Everest has been working very closely with the Student Wellness Division on projects like the Party Smart Tailgates, bringing back online appointment scheduling at Thielen, and so much more. Additionally, Vice President Ulrich and myself have, along with the leaders at the other two universities here in Iowa, convinced the Board of Regents to add $1 million under their budget for mental health resources at the three institutions. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is another huge area of focus for our student government this year, and I know that our DEI team has been very busy. We just put on our first multicultural town hall of the year, which had an amazing turnout and really amazing conversations as well. The information gained from the students who participated is going to give us a lot of direction in terms of how we advocate for multicultural students on our campus. And additionally, the Senate passed bills to fund the first Black homecoming here at Iowa State and give the DEI committee their own budget, putting them on the same level as every other project-based committee in student government. And I know that conversations are ongoing about a larger DEI fund to fund initiatives around campus. We've also been busy in other areas. For example, Director of Academic Affairs Lent has completed a project that was started last year by Chief of Staff Roberts to remove the drop limit for classes. That policy just made its way through the Faculty Senate and will be going into effect next year. Director of Student Services Myers is getting a cooking workshop program underway, something that we've been working on for several years here in student government. Director of Affordability Fisher created the Renter's Guide program that we will be distributing around campus. And the Student Initiatives Committee held another successful safety walk. And tomorrow, we'll be hosting the second annual pumpkin smashing event on Central Campus. And during all of this, Vice President Ulrich and myself have managed to dragoon the StuGov PR team into starting a podcast and soon a TikTok. Now, I know many of the people in this room know most or all of what I just shared, but it's really critical that we recognize the good work that we've done already this year, so I'd like us to give a round of applause to everyone who's completed their projects so far. It's really great work, but there is more to be done. Looking forward, there is a lot of work to be done, actually. We have less than a semester of meetings left. We are roughly 2/3 of the way through our terms, and the days are not getting any longer. With the elections around the corner and our time drawing to a close, it can be easy to be complacent, get overwhelmed with campaigning, or just phone it in for these last couple of months. But that isn't what any of us in this room were elected to do. And I know it's hard, and I've been guilty of it myself in the past, but we have a job to do these last couple of months. Until the next group is sworn in, we are responsible for making change on this campus. And by the way, I don't say that to make us sound important. We are only as important as the value that we provide to our peers through the work that we do. And that value isn't given, it's earned, and I expect those of us who are remaining to do the most with the time that we have left. While great things have been going on, not everything has received its time. Work is ongoing on improving international student career services, promoting mental health needs to our state legislature, expanding composting services, and there's always work to be done when it comes to reaching out to the community. These are just a few of the many areas of work that deserve our attention, and I have little doubt that everyone in this room has their own list of projects and initiatives they'd like to see done before the end of the year. And the only question is whether or not we will commit ourselves to their completion. As many of you know, I've been in student government since my first semester on campus. I've been elected 4 separate times, served in numerous roles, and had the opportunity to work with a lot of people on a lot of great projects. But this is it for me. There's no more elections for me to run in and no campaigning left for me to do. There is nothing left for me but the promises that I made to the community. And these final few months are my last opportunity to give back, and I intend to make the most of them, and I hope you'll join me. So thank you, and go Cyclones. Take any questions.
Are there any questions for President Ludwig?
Did I stun you? I'm stunned. Stunned. Perfect.
Senator Keeler.
Acting Vice Speaker Kueller.
Sorry. Acting Vice Speaker Keeler.
Give the man the respect he deserves.
Rightfully pointed out that time kind of flies, and we are more than halfway through our term as it stands. It kind of feels like just yesterday we were at inauguration giving your speech. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, what's going to be your primary focus in your last semester as our 69th student body president?
Yeah. Time is coming to a close for sure. But yeah, for me, I think we've started projects on pretty much all the platform points that Jaden and I ran on. And we are committed to those above all else. That's what we were elected on, and so this is the promises I feel most compelled to complete. More energy behind international student career services, to be sure. That's been set back for a number of reasons this semester, and so wrap up that project, and then really going to be laser focused on the mental health funding down at the state legislature. That's a fantastic opportunity. The extra $1 million that the Board of Regents added to the budget puts us one step closer to that actually becoming something that would be passed. In the past, similar proposals haven't been proposed by the board themselves, so it's been more difficult to go in and ask them to change a bill that already exists, because now that it's in the original budget, the state legislature will have to decide whether or not to remove it, which is, I mean, they're prone to inaction over action any day, so.
Are there any further questions?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you, President Ludwig. We will now move on to our second program with the Office of Equal Opportunity. Are they present? It seems like the representative is not present, unfortunately. So we will, I guess, move on to open forum. Open forum is a time for students to bring issues before a student body that are of interest to the student government. If you are here for open forum, please approach the podium and state your name and your college.
Y'all know me. So I was going to do a program, but since there was supposed to be two, I'm just doing a quick intro to PNC for open forum, so you can kind of get an understanding of what it is and why it's important to have a discussion on it and not just pass the amendments and then pass the bill as a whole. So PNC is the sole governing document of Finance Committee. It is how we determine who and what to fund, what is funding eligible, what is funding ineligible, and how our tiers are kind of set up through partnered, sponsored, funding eligible, and funding ineligible. Partnered organizations are ones that directly impact students with our mission. So Election Commission is one of them, SALC is one of them. Any big organization that you can think of on campus that kind of works with student government or works in the same realm as student government is partnered. The next tier is sponsored. Sponsored organizations are a little lower, and those are ones that don't necessarily coincide directly with student government, but to give a broader sense of community to not just Iowa State students, but also the Ames community as a whole. So those are Winterfest, Sub, and all those bigger organizations that you see with a bigger budget. Then funding eligible organizations are your run-of-the-mill student organizations that run on the daily operations that directly impact their members, but also can impact others if they join or if they hold events. And those are determined by our questions of funding eligibility that we have in PNC and within our funding drive on the student government website. And then funding ineligible are any organizations that do not fall into those questions or do not pass those questions, as you would say, and don't receive funding from student government. So that's kind of how we determine who gets funding and how much they do and what they're kind of restricted by. So if you have any questions on what those organizations are and kind of how we think of them as they are, please have those questions for debate. But then kind of going into the run of the PNC, it is a very big document, so I hope you scanned it for at least 10 minutes. Kind of going deeper into what it means, what publications are, what conference and competitive trips are, how we fund those, what math we have to do. And a lot of the amendments that we have this year are restructuring the order of bullet points within those. So it's kind of just clear if an organization is looking to have funding for a specific line item. If they see the first bullet point and they do not fall into that category, then they can immediately move on to the next bullet point so they don't have to shuffle through. And then another one too is for publications. We have had conversations in the past of the publications providing one copy of their publication per semester, because we do give them $3,000 per semester for printing for their publications. And also within that too, in the past we've kind of talked about how those publications can give us proof of them distributing their copies of their publication throughout campus, because that's the main purpose of a publication, is to print and then to provide it to the students and faculty and staff around campus. So that's another amendment that we have. A lot of other amendments too are kind of just, as you would see by Senator Engelken, is kind of just consistency with periods. Also, just a fair warning, the formatting is off, but there is a comment, and there has been comments in the past, that after the bill is passed, all the formatting and restructuring of that transitioning from a document to a Word document will be good, and I will do that. It won't change anything of the document, so that's nothing to be worried about. But basically, I just wanted to come kind of understand what PNC was, and we also have our priorities. So part of priorities and criteria, we didn't have them in the past, but last year we added those as our priorities, and there's about six or seven, and those priorities are kind of what we want as student government to fund. So if you look at those are the bolded bullet points in the top of PNC that are under the priorities. And that's just a way for organizations to come, so they're on the screen right now, and that's just a way for student organizations to come get funding, kind of know what student government is about, what we represent, not just as students, but the mission that we have. And then also with that too, kind of what our partnered and sponsored organizations, if they coincide or have majority of those, then they're more likely to be partnered or sponsored. That's kind of just the information. There's also more information about the allocation process, which most of you don't really care about, I understand. But if you do have any questions, please yield time to me. I can't speak on this because it is not a funding bill technically, but if you have any questions, yield time to the committee, yield time to me. I am hoping to have a longer discussion about this because this is one of the governing documents of student government, so this is important. What we do for this document will impact next year's funding no matter what. So be cognizant of what you're passing, be cognizant of what you're talking about, what you're debating on, because how you pass this will affect how we do annuals next fiscal year. Not in this spring, but next spring. So yes, thank you.
Is there anyone that wishes to speak for open forum? Seeing none, we'll move on to adopting the agenda. Is there a motion to do so? So moved. And there's a second. Is there any objection to adopting tonight's agenda as reflected on the screen? Seeing none, it is adopted. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Is there any motion to do so as well? It has been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to adopting last week's minutes? Seeing none, they are adopted. We will move on to the committee reports, starting with rules with Speaker Mahoney.
Hey everyone, so rules met on Monday this time. Thankfully, we will be done meeting on Sundays now. We saw one bylaw bill, 2022-2-030Y, the Procedures for Failing to Complete Outreach Credits Act. Basically, we just kind of realized that there was no actual prescribed punishment, I guess, for not doing outreach credits. So basically it makes it that if you don't do two, if you miss both, you get one nonfeasance. If you miss one, you get half. Kind of pretty simple. And then it also gives, basically it means it also adds if you're seated in the second half of the semester, you only have to do one outreach credit. And if you're seated within the last 3 or 4 weeks, you don't have to do any for that semester. Just makes it a little more fair to everybody that way. We also saw a preliminary disciplinary hearing for Senator Kamstra. He had 2 nonfeasances. Rules Committee decided it was not a big deal, basically, and decided to dismiss all charges, but have me report it at Senate, as I'm doing now. Really decided to sign out right now. Other than that, we are losing a member of Rules Committee. Senator Thornton is graduating, so we will have an open seat next semester. I'll be sending out a little interview sheet soon, a quick survey just for people to fill out if they're interested in joining the committee. We are going to be meeting Mondays at 5. So if that doesn't work for you, sorry, but don't apply. We're going to meet Mondays at 5. That's the new plan. Other than that, we talked about kind of the plan for break. We've been working on all of these bylaw changes and been talking about what we want to see at a high level for all of this semester. And now that we've kind of gotten through a lot of the major discussions over break, my plan is to fully get a working copy of the new bylaws done so that over the course of the next month or so into the spring semester, we'll be able to, as a Rules Committee, deep dive into that and tear it apart, rewrite it, figure out what other things have come up in the rewrite process, all that jazz. I'll be pretty bored over the month of winter break, so plenty of time to do stuff.
Are there any questions for Speaker Mahoney? Seeing none, we'll move into report of Finance Committee with Finance Director Claiborne.
Long time no see. So we had one line item transfer and then 2 bills. Our line item transfer was for golf club, and that was approved in committee. Funding MUAV was sent favorably, and then PNC was also sent favorably. Thank you. If it wasn't, that would have been kind of weird. Just wrapping up, our last meeting was yesterday, and then over break, I will restructure how we do our annuals process and kind of get that going. And then we're meeting same time, same day. And then we're also going to meet on Sundays for annuals. I also wanted to give a round of applause to Senator Yonting. Senator Yonting is leaving Finance Committee for next semester on to bigger and better things. But great vice chair this semester, was really good in conversation and just helping me with finance, so I actually had structure. So if everyone could give him a round of applause, please. And then onto that, if anyone is interested in finance for next semester and kind of see how annuals process works, it is a lot of time commitment on Tuesdays and Sundays, but it is really well worth it. You see a lot of organizations, you see directly how much our funds can impact not just the organization, but the Iowa State community as a whole. And those will be open. I'll send out the application again. And then, yeah, that's it.
Are there any questions for Finance Director Claiborne? Seeing none, we will move into PR with Director of Outreach Haas.
Hi everyone. So last night PR met. Thank you to everyone who helped make the goodie bags yesterday. They will be handed out next week on Tuesday. Maddie sent out the Cardinal Guild newsletter today, so go check that out. Pumpkin smashing tomorrow will count as a outreach credit, so if you haven't gotten 1 or 2 of your outreach credits, be sure to sign up for that. The podcast with President Winterstein is tentatively set next week. There is a bill on tonight's agenda for a nomination for the next Senior Director of Communication. I wonder who that is. PR voted to reserve 1/3 of a page in the MU Get Involved booklet, which will be drawn from the PR budget for $175. And if you don't know what that booklet looks like, it's handed out at Club Fest, at like new student events, stuff like that. So it'll be great advertisement for student government. We're planning on sending out another mass email next semester for at-larges. And then the PR committee has a lot of different plans for next semester, so we're excited to get started on those. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Director Haas?
Mr. President, I move to add Senators Yonting and Thornton to the roll.
It has been moved to add Senators Yonting and Thornton to the roll. Is there any objection to doing so now? Seeing none, they have been added. We'll move on to Diversity Committee with Senator Agba.
Hi, yeah. Mary just wanted me to say that we're just preparing for next semester. We had a good turnout, as we said, at the multicultural town hall, and hope to see people sign up for the committee. And yeah.
Are there any questions for Senator Agba? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Student Initiatives Committee with Senator Mays.
So, pumpkin smashing is finally tomorrow. If you want to, please come by and smash a pumpkin. It will be really fun. But more urgently, if you are available after 12 o'clock, we should have enough people to run the event, but with an event like this, because it's so big, having as many people as possible able to help out and jump in and support wherever they can, it's good to have a lot of people. So if anybody, whether you need outreach credits or not, if you want to stop by and help out for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, we would so love and appreciate that a lot. Otherwise, we're just kind of discussing plans for next semester. We have quite a few events that we want to do, so we're trying to get ahead on planning those or figuring out kind of when we want to do them. And we have open Senate and at-large positions, so if anybody you know wants to join, or if you want to join, we are open to it. So yeah, if anybody has any questions about Pumpkin Smash or anything like that, just let me know.
Are there any questions for Senator Mays? Senator Heidenreich.
So I sent a thing in the Teams group chat. It's like the flyer. It's also on our Instagram. It's from 11 to 3. There are going to be some people meeting in the MU at like 10 to help bring over some stuff and then help set up the event. So if you wanted to help with setup, if you're available, that is an opportunity too. Just meet in the West office at like 10 o'clock. But otherwise, it is 11 to 3.
Are there any further questions for Senator Mays and Student Initiatives Committee? Seeing none, we will move into local affairs with ex officio Garmin.
I don't have a whole lot. As you probably read or saw, the council did take away Outlaw's liquor license. So that's the most thing regarding, I would say, students that have been on the council's agendas the past couple weeks. But we had a climate action plan work session last week. I was not able to attend. But it went pretty long. Other than that, we don't got a lot going on. Thanks.
Are there any questions for ex officio Garmin? Seeing none, we will move into Sustainability Committee with Director Vanderkamp.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see all your faces. I have just a couple wrap-up things to just talk about. So I know most of you guys in the room probably aren't as familiar with what we're doing in Sustainability Committee. So I will be sending out an email on Friday with details about all the wonderful things that we've been doing. I've been really proud of the committee this year. We have roughly about 15 to 20 projects ongoing currently. So there will be a lot going on next semester, so be prepared for a lot of those. I would like to highlight the month of February, where we're going to have our 3 biggest events. So on February 1st, we will have George Washington Carver Day, which we'll be celebrating for the first time in the state of Iowa, and it will be collaboration between student government, the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, as well as just university leadership. And that will be a really important day, as well as hosting a Green Town Hall and Sustainapalooza, which I'll send more information out as the dates get closer. With all those events and projects coming up, I am super excited to hopefully have one of the most detailed lists of projects we've ever had, with hopefully making a 200-page document that will detail all of this so we don't lose the massive amount of momentum that we've had with Sustainability Committee this semester, and hopefully continue for many years to come. With that, if you are looking to be part of Sustainability Committee, we're always looking for senators and at-larges. And next semester, we will have our meetings at Thursday from 5 p.m. or at 5 p.m. So also, if you're just interested at attending and learning more about Sustainability Committee, we'd love to have you. I'll send out more information about a detailed location as well when that comes as well.
Are there any questions for Director Vanderkamp? Seeing none, we'll move on to Health and Wellness with Director Everest.
Hello, everyone. Happy last Senate of the semester. I know you're all going to miss my updates every week. As President Ludwig kind of mentioned, my projects are kind of wrapped up so far, kind of out of my control. I'll keep you updated on the menstrual equity project as that kind of goes through its channels in the Memorial Union now. But the biggest thing I have is February 3rd is the Health and Wellness Symposium. I'm sitting on the planning committee right now. We're going to have a lot of great speakers, and we're also going to have a lot of really awesome breakout sessions regarding resources and things like that. It is a Friday. There will be an email going out for students to register within the next week or two. Please register. I will be working it. I will be there all day. Hang out and see me, get some free swag as well. And then we're doing something really cool. It was actually my idea. We're doing nominations. So as you register for the symposium, which is free, you can nominate a staff member or a professor who you think has been promoting health and wellness at the university, and then they will get publicly recognized at the provided lunch at the symposium. And we're doing this basically because Iowa State is currently working on a plan to change the culture of how professors and staff members and students address mental health on campus. But that's a few years away just because of how things work at a big university. So we want to appreciate our staff and our professors that are doing that now. Thank you for all of your help with my projects throughout this year. Please take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, however you need to. If you need to talk to me, you can talk to me as Charlotte, your peer, or Director Everest, your Director of Health and Wellness. I'm happy to support you in whatever capacity you are most comfortable with. My phone number's on the MIS. I usually go to bed early, but if you call me enough, I will pick up. No hard feelings, period. I just wrote mental health whoop whoop. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. We're going to be focusing on some mental health initiatives. If you have any ideas or passion projects, please, please, please let me know. I'm bored now. And then Senator Kuehler and I are working on scheduling a meeting with someone from the Iowa State Daily to go over mental health resources and kind of touch base on that. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Director Everest? Seeing none, we'll move into comments from the judicial branch with Election Commissioner Neeper Burris.
Hello, everyone. I am just here to remind everyone that the elections are coming up soon, and if you're wanting to run for re-election or run for the presidential or vice presidential offices, you will need to know the following dates. So statement of intents for executives will be due January 13th at 5 p.m. Email me and I can send you the form for that. And the executive information session will be on January 19th at 5 p.m. in the Gold Room. If you're looking to rerun for Senate, you'll have to turn in your statement of intent by February 17th at 5 p.m. And you can also email me. And the info sessions will take place the 23rd through the 27th of January in the MU, all at 5 p.m. We're also voting on the election code later on this evening. So if you have any questions regarding the few changes that we're making, please send them my way. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the Election Commissioner in the judicial branch? Seeing none, we'll move on to comments from the advisor with our advisor, Sophia Sarver.
Hello. Wow. Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy 14th week. You've made it to your final Senate meeting of the semester. Congratulations. Please, I wanted to say give yourself a round of applause, but I don't know, do what you'd like. You've had a really good semester. I'm excited to see what happens in the spring. Please don't forget that I am here when you're not. So during winter break, I will be available for any time you'd like to chat about anything. More than happy to have a Zoom. If you're in Ames, you can come visit me here. And then also there'll be more information about the winter retreat coming out. An RSVP form will be in the email attached with the information. So please fill it out as soon as you get it. It's 2 questions. Are you coming? Do you have any dietary? So, full transparency, not a super complicated form. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know. And I hope you all do awesome on finals week, and you're going to do great. I believe in all of you. So, okay. Have a good meeting.
Any questions for the advisor? Seeing none, we will move into comments from the executive branch with your 69th student body president, Jacob Ludwig.
Good evening. There we go. I won't go on too long because I made you all listen to me earlier. But before break, had the athletics council meeting, and basic discussions there were just around the new contract for the Big 12 that is like 90% sure that it's actually going to happen. But basically, a new media contract. The value is going up, so the athletics department is going to have more money to play around with over the next couple years, which will make a number of facility improvement projects that they've had on the docket for a while financially feasible. Beyond that, had a meeting with the director of equal opportunity to talk about a project they're planning to launch in either the spring or next year. So you may or may not hear about that relatively soon. And then this week, I have 2 exams, so I'm a little busy. But I'm around if you need anything. That's all I got.
Are there any questions for President Ludwig? Seeing none, we will move into external matters and 2022-2-027F, funding MUAV with Senator Matthews.
Hi guys. Can I ask the representative to come up to the podium? So we saw this last week. Obviously, this is our second read. I went and talked to Finance Committee about it last night, and I showed them 3 bids, and we found the best bid to work, and it was the same one that I had shown you last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess. And they sent it favorably, so I'll just let it's my boss, but.
So yeah, I guess if you have any questions, just let me know. Do you all want me to kind of give a little bit of context as to how this, what the idea is here? So back in 2016, my predecessor entered into agreement with student government to purchase a lot of the equipment that you're seeing us use on a weekly basis for Student Government Senate to live stream that event, or to live stream the Senate and other student government events. Things like the debates for the vice president and presidential, that sort of thing. So that's essentially what you're seeing is that system here. Again, that system was bought in 2016, so the average lifespan of AV equipment is usually about 4 to 6 years, so we're getting towards the end of that. So we're seeing just some limited capabilities and challenges with the existing equipment. And then in addition to that, especially coming out of COVID, what we've seen is an increased number of events that student organizations and other departments and folks want to live stream or add virtual components, whether that's hybrid, so Zoom, WebEx, Teams, that sort of thing to their events. So as part of that agreement that was entered into in 2016 was that student government would get first priority over this existing system here for use for their events. And then when it is not in use for student government, it would be available as a resource to student organizations at no cost. The only cost that student organizations would have to pay would just be the staffing charges for us to set up and operate that equipment. And so the hope is that with this additional investment and reinvestment in this system, that will allow this system to be sustainable and for the next 5 years. And we would anticipate renewing that agreement where that would allow student government and student organizations to use this equipment for free. And that's kind of where we're at, so.
All right, we are now into debate on the bill. So if you would have something to say for debate, please raise your placard. We'll begin with Senator Thornton.
The equipment that you have listed here, do you anticipate these pieces lasting an additional 4 years or longer than that?
Are you talking about the equipment that the Memorial Union's investing in?
Yes.
So yeah, so some of the equipment that you're seeing there, the Memorial Union is making a significant investment in parts of the equipment, and that would last for about that 4 to 5 year time frame as well, probably.
Okay. is there any equipment listed, either that I guess the Memorial Union is investing in or that student government would be investing in on this bill that could potentially last longer than 4 years or less than 4 years?
I mean, obviously, the part of the agreement, sorry, I didn't mention this earlier, but the other part of the agreement is that student government makes the initial investment, but the Memorial Union is responsible for maintaining that equipment. So if it were to fail or something like that or need to be sent out for repair, we would cover that cost with the Memorial Union's budget.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I yield.
Senator Keeler?
Just out of curiosity, I don't know who would have the answer to this, but does anyone know how much we paid for the equipment in 2016?
I want to say it was about $16,000. I can pull that up in an old email, but it was right around, I believe it was about a $16,000 investment by student government and about a $16,000 investment by the Memorial Union.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we weren't paying like exorbitantly more, so that's all I had. I yield.
Senator Hackbarth?
As an individual who works 3 audiovisual jobs here at Iowa State, I can say that a lot of the equipment that they do have picked out is very high quality equipment. Even though it is one of the cheaper, quote unquote, cheaper options, it is very high quality equipment, and I think this is a very reasonable and good bill to pursue. That is all I yield.
Speaker Mahoney?
Can I ask, what would happen with the current cameras that are recording us right now?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're hoping to do with that equipment is actually tied into a little bit more of an integration. So what we would do is actually permanently install those 2 cameras in this room and the room next door, the Cardinal room, which would allow us to more easily facilitate additional, essentially free live streaming or hybrid type meetings for student organizations that are using those spaces.
Is there any further discussion on the bill? All right, it has been moved and seconded to call the question on the bill. Is there any objection to voting now? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote. When I state your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Sorry, so before I go on, my mistake. Senator Matthews, do you have any closing comments?
No, I'm good. Thank
All right,
you.
we will now move into the voting period. I apologize. We will, when I say your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Agba? Becker? Yes. Burks? Cecil? Dre? Yes. Isma? Anglican? Yes. Etten? Yes. Frencher? Yes. Gopa? Yes. Hackbarth? Yes. Heidenreich? Yes. Holiday? Yes. Kamstra? Yes. Kohlhaus? Yes. Keeler? Mahoney?
Yes.
Margaret? Yes. Matthews? Yes. Mays? Yes. Mascar? Yes. Momini? Yes. Shivraj? Yes. Slade? Yes. Slater? Yes. Tansey? Thornton? Yes. Topete? Yes. Vo? Yes. And Yonting? Yes. By a vote of 30 to 0, the motion passes. We will now move on to internal matters, general orders, 2022-2-026A, approving the 2023 election code with Speaker Mahoney.
So basically, I am required to be the one to write this bill, but I will pass my opening speaking privilege to Election Commissioner Niebuhr-Burris.
Hello again, everyone. So there are some minimal changes on the election code. If you click the link there, and then the appendixes, I don't know how to say it, A and B, was just a formatting issue. They're going to be combined into one document once we can get it to work, but I was under a bit of a time crunch. So those show the violation amounts that we've used in the past, and they're, if you click on the penalty thing, you can see that I made a comment that's changing it to suggested penalty at the top, just to clarify that that's not the amount that has to be paid if that penalty is found to have been committed, just that's the recommended amount. Yep.
We'll now move into debate on this bill. If you would like to speak, please raise your placard. Senator Margaret.
Hello? Okay. Mr. Acting President, I move to adopt the amendments to the election code reflected in section 8.15 and hopefully momentarily reflected on screen.
There's a motion to amend the election code as reflected on screen. Not quite yet. 1 second. Which one was it? All right, it has been moved and seconded to amend the election code as reflected on the screen. Is there any objection to moving into discussion on the motion to amend? Seeing none, we'll start with Senator Margaret if you wanted to. Senator Margaret, it would be your opening speaking privilege if you'd like to explain the motion.
Yes, I'm presenting it. I was not the one to write this, but I am supporting it and would like to see it amended.
Would anyone like to?
Oh. Do you want to talk? I yield.
President Ludwig?
I mean, this is probably better context from the election commissioner, but just this is more accurate terminology in terms of how we would actually speak about the community if there was ever some dispute.
Can I talk? Is that
As the election commissioner, you do have speaking privileges. So
sorry,
election
I don't know
commissioner
how this
Niebuhr-Burris,
works.
sorry.
Okay, no worries. So the edit that's made on there right now is changing Greek to Panhellenic. We realized that this was the wrong terminology, and so we would be changing it to chapter facilities instead of Panhellenic, or College Panhellenic. We missed it after the fact, so I believe that's what the motion was attempting, or changing. Yes.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment?
What is actually the correct amendment at this time?
Is there anyone that can answer that point of information?
Yep. So we had an initial change, and then we realized what we were changing it to was the incorrect term, as well. So we're changing the change. Sorry for the confusion. So it currently says Greek. We wanted to change it to College Panhellenic and realized that that's only a term for sororities. It doesn't include fraternities. So we would instead be changing it from Greek to chapter facilities to include both.
I guess I have a question for the motion maker then. That is not what's reflected on screen. So the motion is now to amend College Panhellenic to instead read chapter facilities in 8.15 of the election code. So that is the amendment as currently stated. Is there any discussion on that amendment?
Call the question.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to call the question. Is there any objection to voting on the amendment now? Seeing none, we'll move into a placard vote. UC has been called for. Is there any objection to adopting the amendment by unanimous consent? Seeing none, it is adopted. We are back on the bill as a whole. Is there any further discussion or amendments or motions on the bill as a whole? All right, it has been called to question and seconded, and there has been an objection. Do you withdraw your motion? Senator Keeler, do you wish to speak? Okay. Is there any further discussion or motions on the bill?
Second.
Question has been called and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now on the bill as a whole? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote. Unanimous has been called for and objected to, so we will be moving into a roll call vote on the matter. When I say your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Agba. Becker. Burks. Cecil. Dre. Eisma. Anglican. Etten. Frencher. Gopa. Hackbarth. Heidenreich. Holiday. Kemstra. Kohlhaas. Kuehler. Mahoney.
Yes.
Margaret. Matthews. Mays. Mascar. Momini. Shivraj. Slade. Slater. Tansey. Thornton. Topete. Vo. And Yonting. With a vote of 30 to 0 to 0, the motion passes. We are moving on to 2022-2-028A, adopting priorities and criteria for fiscal year 2024 with Senator Yonting.
Yes, so this is the PNC bill. I'm pretty sure you all have read it. If you have any question or concern, please raise it now, as this will affect funding for the next fiscal year. Thank you.
We've now moved into debate on the motion as a whole. If you'd like to speak, please raise your placard. Senator Slade.
I just had a quick, clarifying question. So in the entertainment section, it says that SUB, that section where they are requesting funding, is crossed out and amended. And I guess I'll just yield my time to Finance Director Claiborne to answer just why maybe that's being changed.
Yeah, so in those, the Committee on Lectures and the Vet Funding Board actually give you funding for it. Sub doesn't give you funding. You can only suggest ideas of people and speakers to go to. So we kind of just put that out just so people know that Student Union Board isn't there for funding. They're there for qualms of oh, I want this speaker, then you can go to them. But Event Funding Board and then Committee on Lectures are the ones that you can go to for funding for speakers and entertainment.
Thank you, Kate. I yield.
Speaker Mahoney.
Finance Director Claiborne, or I guess any member of Finance Committee perhaps, under the general rules for eligibility, what is a spouse card holder? Do we have any idea what that is?
That's a hard definition to like say, but if you are, correct me if I'm wrong, Sophie, if you're married, your spouse can pay the fees to like be on like TLIN, student health, rec, all like our fees that we pay. I think if you're married and your spouse can pay those, they also get a card. So that's basic. So they hold an ISU ID card, but they're not a student, I think. Yeah, that sounds correct.
So they would basically be paying into.
Yeah, like they
us
pay
and
the
collectively.
fees.
Okay,
Yes.
Senator Keeler.
I guess just as kind of a minor question here, but does in the section of utilities, we have a long distance telephone. Does anyone actually utilize this?
No, but if I think the long distance telephones are still like available to use, so we can't take it out if there is a group that is like, hey, we want to use this, but like we can't. So that's just saying that if there is, in the case that people want to have a long distance telephone, they can.
Fair enough. Thank you. I yield.
Back to Speaker Mahoney.
So technically, we actually have to move all the amendments that are on the document to actually be adopted. So I move the amendments as they are suggested on screen, which is all the changes that Finance Committee actually wants to make.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt all of the agendas as reflected on the screen and the document. Is there any objection to moving into discussion on those amendments? Seeing none, we will move into discussion. Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now on the amendments? Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to approving the amendments by unanimous consent? Seeing none, they are adopted. You're back on the bill as a whole. Speaker Mahoney, it's still your privilege.
Yeah, I'm not going to click the check mark just so we can see the changes that are actually being made.
Okay. So any further discussion on the bill as a whole? Senator Thornton.
Under funding tier, so under funding tiers, it says that the 4 funding tiers are subject to change through an act of Senate at any time. And I'm just wondering if that means that the names of the funding tiers are subject to change, if the name of the tiers is subject to change, if how the tiers are determined are, or if the organization's standing in that tier. Like, what is subject to change?
The organization standing. So it's usually partnered and sponsored.
Okay.
Or if we do, I think,
Placed
want to
into
change the
one of the
actual
4
name of
funding
them,
tiers.
we can.
Yeah.
We can change it through the Senate.
One of the 4 funding tiers. Placed into.
These are subjected to change.
Senator Thornton,
Okay,
do
so
you
I
yield?
move to add this amendment under funding tiers. Just the 3 words, and this is subject to change.
These are subject to change.
Where?
Is before. So these are is before the amendment.
Sorry, I didn't.
No,
it
you're
blended
fine.
in with
It's
the.
confusing. I understand.
My bad. I just want to clarify that. And then for advertising, it said that for printing of like flyers, that only philanthropic clubs like dedicated to philanthropy were allowed flyers for like if they wanted to host philanthropic events. Is there like a reason why a club that had not had like prior experience was kind of like barred from having flyers made for a philanthropic event if they wanted to host one?
I have not experienced that in my time, or I know of, but that line item is just saying like specific philanthropic organizations, like if their sole reason is for philanthropy, then they can advertise for those specific events, if that makes sense. That answers your question.
Right. This is specifically saying that advertising for philanthropic events will only be considered for the organizations who, like, that's their primary purpose. So it makes it sound like if your primary purpose is not philanthropy, then you can't receive funding for advertising for a philanthropic event.
Yes.
Would it be possible for us to change that so that if clubs wanted to have like a philanthropic event, they could receive funding for the advertising of said event, not for like.
You want to make the amendment, you can.
Okay, just.
Yeah, but like a majority of those would be for like if there is an organization who is in like a philanthropic realm, they will advertise for that specific event. So it's kind of like a normal organization, how an organization will advertise for their events as a whole. If there is a philanthropic organization, then they will advertise for their philanthropic event, but another organization usually doesn't advertise for other organizations' events. So what we give for advertising is for an organization to advertise for their events, not for any others. So if there was, say, like Sub was to advertise for a philanthropic event, that's not what we usually do, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I just mainly wanted to understand the reasoning of like why the line was in here.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting that it was like trying to prevent one club from advertising for another club's event. I was reading it as a club wanted to fundraise for a cause that they had heard of, and that this might prevent them from doing such a thing. But if you're understanding that that has never really happened, then I don't have a problem with this being in there.
I've never experienced that. And also, like, when we do the advertising, I don't get any, like, what the advertisement is. That's all COA. So this, like, obviously we can give them advertising, but, like, the way they advertise and what for is kind of above me. So we're just in there so another organization doesn't advertise for another organization's event or any other and just kind of spend our money willy-nilly.
Okay, cool. The last one that I have, and this is also for like anyone that's in.
Sorry, Speaker Thornton, it is 5 minutes of your speaking privilege. If you'd like, you can use
I
your
just
second.
used my second one.
All right, terrific.
Cool, thanks.
Continue.
So the under league fees, it's like just one bullet point, and it just says that league fees will be considered like case-by-case situation. I feel like that's pretty vague. So if you or anyone from finance wants to chime in on it, I feel like that leaves us pretty open as a body for bias later down. And that could be like 3 years from now when none of us are here. And so I'd like to just spitball some ideas on how we can outline that either tonight or later down the line.
And also in PNC, there are other bullet points that are case-by-case basis. And the reason we do kind of leave that broad is if there is an organization, it's mainly for sports clubs, but if there is another organization that is a part of that can be a part of a league, we will see that and we kind of just take what they're asking for funding for. So if it is, they are asking for a league, then we take the case-by-case basis. So if they're asking for a league that's like doesn't coincide with what their organization is about, then we'll say no. But it's kind of just to leave it open so when an organization does come, we can have the discussion in committee and therefore bring it to Senate so we can have a discussion on if this organization should receive funding for this league registration, because league registrations are larger amounts because it's always one just flat fee. So and that also goes into case-by-case basis too. So if there is an organization that has a league registration fee that is kind of higher in value and higher in amount, then we can come to Senate and this PNC leaving it broad so Finance Committee can bring it to Senate, be like, hey, this obviously we can cover league registrations, but this will take an X amount of our budget that we have remaining or that we have. So we kind of just want to have a discussion on if Senate as a whole is willing to fund this and think that our student dollars is going to a good cause.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks. I yield.
Senator Ogba?
I move to remove Hackbarth from the roll.
There's a motion to remove Senator Hackbarth from the roll. Is there any objection to doing so? If not, she has been removed. Is there any further discussion on the bill as a whole? Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now on the bill as a whole? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote. When I say your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Ogba. Becker. Burks. Cecil. Dre. Eisma. Anglican. Etten. Frencher. Gopa. Heidenreich. Holiday. Kamstra? Kohlhaas? Kuehler? Mahoney?
Yes.
Margaret? Matthews? Mays? Mascar? Momini? Shivraj? Slade? Slater? Tansey? Thornton? Topete? Vo? And Yonting. By a vote of 29 to 0, the bill passes. Now move on to 2022-2-030Y, Procedures for Failing to Complete Outreach Credits Act, with Acting Vice Speaker Kuehler.
Hello, everyone, again. So, as Speaker Mahoney alluded to in his rules, I guess, introduction, this bill is basically just kind of codifying the consequences for senators who fail to complete their outreach credits. It also stipulates that members sat in like the middle or towards the end of a semester will not have to complete as many outreach credits, just to avoid like someone being sat in some of the last meetings and then getting a nonfeasance because they didn't complete their outreach credits. So that's pretty much all this bill does. Director of Outreach Haas does approve of the bill, so yeah, I yield.
We'll now move on into discussion on the bill as a whole. If you'd like to speak, please raise your placard.
I move the Rules Committee amendments.
There's been a motion to amend the bill with the Rules Committee amendments as reflected on screen. Is there any objection into moving into discussion on those? Seeing none, we're in discussion on the Rules Committee amendments. The question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? UC has been called for. Is there any objection to adopting the Rules Committee amendments by unanimous consent? Seeing none, they are adopted. We are back into discussion on the bill as a whole. Is there any discussion? Senator Ogba.
I see that there is a missing zero at the top there, with 2022, dash, the rest of that. I move to add a zero.
I believe that that's a procedural issue with the bill. It can just be fixed. It's just an issue with the codification. It is not substantive. So that has been added.
Okay, great. Thank you. I yield.
All right. Terrific. Is there any further discussion on the bill as a whole? Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? Unanimous consent has been called for. Is there any objection to approving this bill by unanimous consent? If not, then the bill is adopted. We will now move into special orders, 2022-2-035 SC, confirming the nomination for Senior Director of Communications, ostensibly with myself, but as I'm the chair, with Speaker Mahoney.
Our current Director of Senior Communications is leaving, going to a co-op. President Ludwig has nominated a new person to take their place, which is our current Director of Outreach, Haas. I will let her go up to the podium and speak for herself.
Hi everyone. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jamie, and I am a senior studying Communication Studies and Public Relations. I am the current Director of Outreach, and last term I sat on the committee as an at-large and as a senator. I'm interested in this position because as a Communication and Public Relations double major, this role would better suit my strengths, and I would like to continue the plans of the last Senior Director of Communications, as well as strengthening the communication between all three branches of student government and the student government committees. I am open to any questions you may have.
We'll now move into debate on the bill as a whole with Acting Vice Speaker Keeler.
Hello. That's Mike. Hello, Director Haas. I guess my question for you is, what drew you to kind of seek out this position?
Oh, so when I applied for Director of Outreach, I also was interested in both Director of Outreach and Senior Director of Communication. So I was open to either one of the positions. And I have a lot of plans involving just like strengthening the communication between student government. So, for example, I want to say it was 3 weeks ago, I went to one of the justices' meetings, and I talked a little bit about outreach there because I saw that, I just wanted, that branch to, know more about outreach, and if they were interested in outreach, to be able to attend those events and know about those events. I also would love to see more communication throughout all of the Senate committees. I feel like sometimes it's last minute before somebody from one committee knows what's going on in another committee. So I think it'd be nice for just that chair of committees to get together at least once a month, or at least email one another or be in a group chat and just let one another know about what their plans are, and also make sure none of their events will clash.
All right, thank you very much. I yield.
Senator Ogba.
I believe Matthews was up first, right?
Thank you.
Go to Senator Matthews.
First off, I think she's more than qualified. Working with her, not that long, but enough to know that she's going to be a perfect fit for this position. First off. Second off, I did have a question. I know you kind of mentioned it earlier during the PR update, but what are projects that you would like to work on as Senior Director of Communications?
Yeah, so I know some projects that Director Grensteiner had planned out was a Women's Week or Women's Day event next semester, and then also it was a tournament, a gaming tournament. So I think that would be two great projects. And then some other projects that I have is continuing After Dark and that karaoke. That would be up to the next Director of Outreach if I was to be confirmed as the Senior Director of Communication. But if the next Director of Outreach was open to that, then just continuing that project with them, because I know a lot of senators and cabinet members really enjoy karaoke.
I yield.
Senator Yonting.
So, as the Director of Outreach, what have you completed that is your best accomplishment and best suited for your new position?
So as director of outreach, one of my favorite events that the PR committee put on was just After Dark karaoke. I know at the first After Dark karaoke, if you were there, that was like, we were one of the most popular destinations for students to go to. Like there was a line outside the door, students were waiting to get in. So that was probably my greatest accomplishment as director of outreach. And then also at the beginning of the school year, we got, I want to say it was 700 emails from new students signing up for our newsletter. So that was really exciting. And now there's 700 more students that know about student government.
Do you yield?
One more question. So you mentioned the students that sign up for the newsletters and stuff, and there's a lot of sign-up sheets during Destination Iowa State. So what have you done with those information? Have you reached out to those students who are interested in student government?
Yeah, so I want to say I shared the spreadsheet with Director of Finance Clay Byrne, so he has access to that. And then both me and Senator Becker, we actually went through the spreadsheet and highlighted all the students that would have an interest in our committee to be an at-large on our committee, and we individually emailed, or not individually, but we emailed those students to try and get them involved in student government.
Senator Slade.
I just wanted to voice my support for Director Haas. I think she will transition really well from to Senior Director of Communications. She has the experience. She's very impassioned about what she's been doing. So I really think she will fill this role and do a great job. I yield.
Is there any further discussion on the bill as a whole? Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to moving into a vote? UC has been called for. Is there any objection to confirming Director Haas by unanimous consent? If not, then congratulations. We will now be moving into. There's a motion to remove Senator Campstra from the roll. Is there any objection to doing so? If not, then he's been removed. We will now move into 2022-2-036SC, confirming the nomination for Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with Speaker Mahoney.
So once again, our current director is leaving at the end of this semester. We knew that when we nominated her and appointed her. So with that, the current deputy director is being nominated to fill the role. She's not here tonight, so President Ludwig will be speaking on her behalf at the podium.
Yeah, so Vi has been serving as the deputy director this entire year. This was something that we saw coming. Mary shared fairly early on that she would be taking this coming semester off. And so that was one of the reasons that we created this position in an ad hoc role, was so that we would have someone kind of ready and in the wings to take over. Vi's been doing a great job. I'm sure that the people on the DEI committee can attest to that. So if you have any questions, I would encourage you to ask members of the DEI committee. But I think she'll do fantastic in this role.
We'll now move into a discussion on the bill as a whole. If you'd like to speak, please raise your placard. Speaker Mahoney.
Yeah, I would just like to ask if there's anyone from DEI committee that would want to just speak on her qualifications, essentially. Anyone feels comfortable doing so.
Yeah, I've worked with Vi for the past semester or so, and she has been great helping us out, being able to facilitate a lot of our events, such as the multicultural town hall. She worked really well with other students, being able to get out the necessary information, and being able to develop advertising, both in person and online, with our subcommittees and is looking forward to create more like subgroups within the committee.
Yield. Is there any further discussion on the bill as a whole? Question has been called for and seconded. Is there any objection to voting now? All right. UC has been called for. Is there any objection to approving the nominee by unanimous consent? Seeing none, then the bill passes. We will then move into new business, seeing as there is no new business, as is the last meeting of the year, the session, we'll move into closing announcements. If you have a closing announcement, please raise your placard. President Ludwig.
Will my mentees see me after the meeting? Thank you. Have a good break.
Sophie?
Don't forget, this Friday is Winterfest. It'll be happening all over the Memorial Union. It'll be a great opportunity to see a super fun event that student government helps fund. So come on out. It'll be great. If you need anything over winter break, please let me know. My emails are always open.
Finance Director Claiborne.
Great conversation tonight. Thank you for those questions for PNC. There is sometimes a lot of just jargon, but we need to keep that in there just in case that, like, if it's not being used, but it's still an option, like the telephone. I think the telephone jack still exists, but I don't know any organization that does it, but we obviously don't want to bar anyone. Then I have a very exciting announcement for everyone, well, specifically for me. My bathroom is officially open. Not 100% complete, but it is open and operating. So if you are interested in seeing it, it kind of smells really bad because it's still fresh paint and fresh construction. But if you go into LEAD and you go past the information desks, there is a walkway where like the athletes can enter and they have their lockers. It's right across that. There's a temporary sign that says family restroom. Please go check it out. I know over 2 years of hard work has been put into it. I think we don't know the total cost, but I think it's going to be around $100,000. So $100,000 has went into that bathroom. It is red and white, and Iowa State colors, love that. And hopefully there will be a plaque outside. Maybe, I'm kind of hoping. There will be a menstrual hygiene product dispenser in there. We had $700 for that. And then there will, I think there is a daily article going about coming out on that soon. So be on the lookout for that, kind of see what the editor is asked other people on campus about this and why this bathroom is important and needed. So yeah, this is the final update of that bathroom saga over 2 years. But yeah, thank you.
Are there any other closing announcements? If not, I'll do one of my own first. I just wanted to say there's a couple vice speaker things to deal with. One, there will be no office hours for the rest of this semester. We basically can't hold them. It would be a club activity, and we can't hold those during prep week or finals week. So there's no obligation to be in the office. The office is open if you need a space to do whatever. It's always there. You either have access to it or should have access to it. So that's that. Keep mentors and mentees, keep an eye out. Mentors, reach out to your mentees, and mentees, be ready to go have some fun with your mentors. It's an important program. It's good to have. And then I will be sending out Sophie and I finally finished work on our Senate mentorship survey thing. I forget the exact title, but we finally got the work done with that. We met with Liz Householder over with forget what her role is, her official title, but she gave a lot of great advice, and we're implementing those in the survey, and should be sent out to all of you by the end of the week. It's going to ask you a few questions about, depending on whether you are a new senator, student government, someone who's experienced mentorship in the past, or someone who has been a mentor in the past. It'll ask you questions about that, and trying to see what you might benefit, and how a program might help you learn and fit in student government, just to kind of get a better idea of what we are doing with the mentorship under the Vice Speaker's office. And then I also wanted to shout out both Speaker Mahoney and Associate Justice Nathan Scott. Nathan's birthday is today, so shout out to him. And Speaker Mahoney's birthday was yesterday. So let's give them a round of applause. And then I'm sure Speaker Mahoney will have a few things to say about it as well, but I did just want to shout out to Senator Thornton and Senator Yonting. This is both their last meetings in the Senate, and I just wanted to appreciate them for their service. You know, Senator Yonting has been the Vice Chair on Finance, and Senator Thornton is currently in for a few more weeks still our senior most senator, and it just, it's going to tough replacement, big hole, big shoes to fill for sure. So we are going to miss them, and I just wanted to say that. With that, I'll move into closing comments with Acting Vice Speaker Kuehler.
All right. I just want to say I had a blast being the acting vice speaker for the evening, so thank you very much. And I guess on a little more serious note, the semester is over. It just kind of happened. And what that means is that we are now halfway done with our terms. It definitely went by fast. So if you guys have projects or ideas, you kind of have on the back burner, do them as soon as possible, because I'm sure next semester is also going to happen really quickly, and it's going to be done before you know it. So with that, I yield.
Speaker Mahoney.
All right. I have quite a few things to say real quick. As has been said tonight, just a reminder, pumpkin smashing is happening tomorrow on Central Campus. It is probably my favorite event we've ever done, and I'm so excited to do it again. So if you want to go hit a pumpkin with a baseball bat on Central Campus, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? That's happening tomorrow from what time is it again? 11 to 3, Central Campus. So that'll be a ton of fun. I'm excited for that. If you newer senators, if you aren't in any committees yet, please feel free to reach out to me. I can help you find ones. There's still plenty of openings on plenty of committees. Over winter break, people are still going to be doing things. If you still have projects you want to work on, things you still want to do, there's plenty of time to still do it. The university administration is still in the office most of break, so please feel free to reach out to them. I will still be answering emails. Please feel free to reach out to me, but let's all enjoy our break that is much needed, I think, for most of us. Good luck on finals and all that. I know I need it. Couple things that are happening over winter break, though. One, we are going to be moving away from Google Drive entirely. The universities basically we're getting kicked off. So we're going to be moving over to Teams/OneDrive. I'm not 100% sure what it will look like yet. That's going to be part of the project for me and Chief of Staff Roberts over winter break, figuring out exactly what that'll look like, and actually moving everything over. So we'll have a new system, I guess, coming back. As we do have a couple departures, we will have some open Senate seats. So if you have any friends that are in vet med, graduate school, College of Design, or College of Human Sciences, have them reach out to me. We have 4 more seats. We'll have 4 seats to fill over winter break still yet. Other than that, we are going to do the winter retreat in the Saturday that we come back, which is the 21st. It'll just be during the day. There should be a save the date going out soon if it hasn't already. So over winter break, please fill that out. Please fill out, there'll be a climate survey going on as well, and there'll be a survey about the mentor-mentee stuff. Please fill all these out. The whole thing will take like 20 minutes. but it'll really help us out so we can continue to improve student government and improve the experience for all of you guys. Mentors, please be meeting with your mentees soon. If not, if you haven't already, at least get something going maybe before the end of the break if you can. Finally, newer senators or just people in general, if your card does not work for the office, if you're not on the teams, if you're not on the listserv, and you don't have access to Google Drive, if any of those 4 apply to you, please let me know. I'm sure there's people that have slipped through the cracks or their cards aren't working or something. I'm going to try to make sure everything gets fixed before we head into the break. So if you don't have access to any of those things, please come talk to me. With that, I yield. Move to adjourn. Go Cyclones.
We are adjourned. Go Cyclones.